Today we're gonna find out how good is the Ryzel archetype in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, and welcome back to another competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. Today we're talking about Ryzel, releasing in Crossover Breakers, the newest deck building set releasing in December, in just a few weeks. This deck is going to change Yu-Gi-Oh! It is a tier 0 strategy in the OCG right now, and it's been dominating there, meaning they don't have any more Tenpai Dragon, they rarely see any more Snake Eyes or Fire King decks as well. The deck has been absolutely incredible, and it's going to be the same in the TCG. So in this video, I'm going to be covering the Ryzel archetype, including an overview on what the cards do and how the deck works, cards and engines that you'll want to pair with it, and even cards that are going to help you beat it. So if you're excited for the video, then make sure to smash the like button. If this video hits 200 likes, I'll bring you the ultimate guide on how to beat Ryzel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but with that being said, we're gonna find out just how good is the Ryzel archetype in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's jump into it. So Ryzel is a rank 4 base strategy with 5 level 4 main deck monsters, 2 rank 4 Xyz monsters, a quick play spell, a field spell, and a normal trap card for 10 cards in total. The monsters are all either light pyros or fire thunder monsters, which is really important, especially when you look at a card like Bonfire, because it can search out for your 2 best starters in the deck, being Ice Ryzel and X Ryzel. They also have some of the most unique ways to disrupt the opponents. Ryzel Cross, the field spell, is a negate at resolution, which makes it incredibly difficult to play around, and their boss monster, Ryzel Detonator, is an incredibly powerful card that can destroy cards every time your opponent activates a card or effect, which is insane. The engine is also incredibly small, and because of that, it can play a ton of hand traps, and it's also really easily able to beat a majority of the hand traps in the game today. But what do all the other cards even do? Well, we have 10 cards as part of the archetype, and starting off with the main deck monsters, we have Ice Ryzel, X Ryzel, Thode Ryzel, Node Ryzel, Palma Ryzel. The extra deck monsters are Ryzel Detonator and Ryzel Duo Drive, while the spell and traps are Ryzel Cross, Ryzel Plugin, and Ryzel Hole Thruster. Starting with the main deck monsters, they all have 2 effects and can all lock you into summoning rank 4s from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. If I say that an effect locks you, that's what I'm referring to, and each of their effects are hard once per turns as well. Ice Ryzel is a level 4 light pyro monster. It can special summon itself from the hand by sending 1 card from hand or field to graveyard, but it then locks you. Its second effect is on normal summon only. You can special summon a Ryzel monster from your deck except for itself. This is your best normal summon in the deck. It's basically just Tour Guide from the Underworld for Ryzels. You don't want to have to special summon it because you can't summon from the deck if it was specialed, but it's absolutely a 3 of in any Ryzel list. X Ryzel is also a level 4 light pyro monster. It has 2 effects. The first is that it can special summon itself from the hand by sending 1 Xyz monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, then it locks you. The second effect is on normal or special summon, and you don't have any other monsters except level or rank 4 monsters on the field. You can add a Fire Thunder monster from deck to hand. This is your best extender. It's also a 1-card combo, and because of this, it's also a 3 of in any Ryzel list. And very important, the effect to special summon itself from the hand doesn't activate. It's just like Diabellstar. By that same logic, you can't special summon it using its effect under Dimension Shifter, because Xyz monsters would not go to the graveyard. Thode Ryzel is a level 4 Fire Thunder monster. It can special summon itself from the hand if you have a Ryzel on field or graveyard, then locks you. If normal or special summoned, you can add a light pyro monster from deck to hand. This is another really strong extender and a Rhoda for Ice and X Ryzel, so that's really strong and another 3 of. Node Ryzel is a level 4 Fire Thunder. It can special summon itself from the hand if you have an Xyz monster on field or in graveyard, then it locks you. You can send 1 card from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target 1 Ryzel monster in your graveyard except for itself, special summon it in defense with its effects negated. So it's another extender, but doesn't really do anything on its own, and for that reason you really only play it at 1 copy. Finally is Palma Ryzel. It's a level 4 Fire Thunder, and it's also not very good. It can't be normal summoned and must be first special summoned from the hand by shuffling back a Ryzel monster from hand or graveyard into the deck. While it's on field, the lock is applied, and once per turn, if this card battles, it can Foolish Burial a level 4 monster to gain attack equal to that monster. You don't really play this one because it's not really a starter and it's barely an extender as well. Moving on to the extra deck, we have a Ryzel Detonator. It's a light pyro rank 4 monster and requires 2 or more level 4 Ryzel monsters as material. It has 3 effects. When your opponent activates a card or effect, As a quick effect, you can detach one material from this card and target a card on the field as cost, and then destroy it. That effect is not once per turn, once per chain, or anything at all. As long as Detonator has material, the effect is live. Its other two effects are hard once per turns. On special summon, you can attach one monster from your graveyard to it as material. If an Xyz monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach from this card instead. Detonator is the main piece of the end board for this deck, giving them multiple interruptions and protection too. Ryzel Duo Drive is a Fire Thunder rank 4 monster. It requires 2 or more level 4 monsters as material and also has 3 effects. Firstly, for every material this card has, your monsters gain 100 attack and the opponent's monsters lose 100 attack. Its other effects are hard once per turns. On special summon, you can attach a Ryzel monster from your graveyard to it as material. During your main phase, you can detach 2 Xyz materials from monsters you control, and if you do, add 2 Ryzel cards from deck to hand with different names. When you use this effect and detach Xyz materials, it doesn't have to be from this monster, which is really important because detaching is part of the effect. So if you can use Ghost Ogre on it, the effect won't resolve to search. That's why it's so important to have this card on field with another Xyz monster to protect it from Ghost Ogre. Moving on to the spell and trap cards, starting off with Ryzel Cross, the field spell. Arguably the most important card in the archetype, and it also has 3 effects. Firstly, you can't Xyz summon monsters with the same name as cards you control, meaning you can't summon 2 detonators while you have the field spell face up on the field. Second, as a hard once per turn, you can target 2 Ryzel cards in your graveyard, bottom deck them and draw 1 card. And finally, as a soft once per turn, when an opponent's activated monster effect resolves, you can detach 1 material from a Ryzel Xyz monster you control, and if you do, negate that effect. This is important for a few reasons. First off, it doesn't activate. Second, it negates on resolution, so you can choose when to use it no matter what the chain link is. Third, it can negate any monster effect anywhere. And fourth, you don't even need to have an Xyz material on a Ryzel Xyz monster until the resolution of the effect you want to negate. It's such an important card, and most lists play it at 1 or 2 copies max, because it's not a starter or combo piece for the deck. It's mainly for protection and recycling resources. Ryzel Plugin is the quick play spell. You can target an Xyz or Ryzel monster in your graveyard or banishment and special summon it. Then you can attach a Ryzel card from deck to a rank 4 you control. Then it locks you into attacking with rank 4s for the rest of the turn. This restriction can prevent an OTK, but not always. Ryzel Hole Thruster is the trap card. It has 2 effects. Its on-field effect is that you can target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Ryzel Xyz monsters you control and destroy them. Then you can attach 1 Ryzel card in your graveyard to a rank 4 you control. This effect is almost never used though, it's mostly being played for its graveyard effect, where you can banish it from the graveyard, and immediately after this effect resolves, Xyz summon using monsters you control, including a Ryzel monster. So you can summon out another Detonator if yours gets removed, but you can also summon out a copy of Zeus, or Typhon, or Bagooska even. So how does the deck even work? Well, it's not a typical combo deck. The deck isn't trying to create an unbreakable board that you just can't play through. What it's really trying to do is create a low to the ground combo that is really difficult to out while backing it up with multiple hand traps. So basically it's playing more of like a control style of game plan, and the closest example I can give to it is going to be with Zoodiac. Zoodiac is another really powerful Xyz based strategy that is able to play a really tight and concise engine, just like Ryzel, and then back it up with a ton of other non-engine cards to make it as strong as possible. Zoodiac relied heavily on Trident, while Ryzel relies heavily on Detonator. But the end board for Ryzel is very small. Usually it's a copy of Detonator on field with Myrialogic Aggregator in the graveyard, with Ryzel Cross and Ryzel Plugin available, and usually one other level 4 Ryzel as well, so they can make their effect Xyz summon live. And there are a ton of ways to get to this combo with a singular card. For example, Ice Ryzel, X Ryzel, even Thode Ryzel, and by extension Bonfire are all 1 card combos. And it's because of that a card like Small World is also being considered to play in this strategy because it can get you more consistency in the deck as well. But what are some other cards you can expect to see played in this strategy? Well, obviously the first one we have to talk about is Bonfire. Bonfire is a key piece of the deck to boost consistency because it can find Ice Ryzel and X Ryzel, which are 2 of the best starters. I already mentioned Small World, which is good but to a lesser extent because it increases the number of starters in the deck, but it won't be super common in my opinion. Mereologic Aggregator is a rank 9 monster that is one of the best cards in the deck, but you never actually summon it. It's being sent to the graveyard by X-Rizal, then attached to Detonator later on in the combo. It's a super valuable card because when it's sent to the graveyard, it can target a card on the field and negate it, so it can make Detonator a pop and a negate as well. Sakitama and Aratama are simply a good generic rank 4 engine to increase the amount of starters the deck has. And then generic rank 4s, specifically like Baguska, Abyss Dweller, Gagaga Cowboy for Time, Evil Swarm Exciton Knight, and more are going to be seeing play. Starliege Photon Blast Dragon is a generic rank 4 that protects monsters with over 2000 attack from targeting, which means it allows Duo Drive to successfully resolve without worrying about Imperm or Valor. Donner Dagger for Hire is also in a lot of deck lists, but why is a Link monster in a deck that locks you into Xyz? Well, it's because of Nibiru exactly. If you nib the opponent, you can't use the effect of X-Rizal because you control a non-rank or level 4 on the field. So Donner helps you get rid of the nib, and you clear your board as well while also acting as removal. I also wanted to highlight 7th Tachyon. It's not out yet, but when we do get it in the spring, it's going to be used as another starter for the deck. So even though the deck isn't actually out yet, we have a pretty good idea of what lists are going to look like thanks to innovation in the OCG. I've mentioned it earlier, but there aren't really a ton of main deck monsters for Rizal, and you don't really want to play Palma Rizal because it's pretty bad. That being said, you definitely want 3 each of Ice, X, and Thode Rizal with 1 Node Rizal. Triple Bonfire is also played because it's another starter. Then it's the engine requirements, 1 Hole Thruster and 1 plugin, then it's 1 or 2 Cross. Personally, I love 2 Cross, but it may not be optimal to play more than 1. Finally, in the extra deck, you have 2 each of Duo Drive and Detonator with the Mereologic Aggregator. The rest of the deck, I kid you not, is non-engine, whether it's Hand Traps or Crossout Designator or a different engine too. Just remember, it makes almost no sense to play other cards in the strategy if they aren't going to be exactly level 4 monsters or rank 4 monsters. For example, the Kashtira package is a terrible choice in this strategy because you get level 7s on the field which are going to turn off the effects of X-Rizal. Now let's talk about some cards that are going to be good against Rizal, starting off with cards that are good on your turn 0. Ghost Ogre is a great choice against the effect of Duo Drive if they don't have another rank 4 on field. If Duo Drive can't attach materials, it won't resolve to search for cards. Flying Sea is a blowout card against Rizal. Basically, it reads that if your opponent normal or special summons a monster, you can special this card to the opponent's field and the controller of the card can't Xyz summon. On top of that, if they summon X-Rizal after the fact, they can no longer search either. How about when you're going first? What cards are good on your turn 1? Starting off, of course, is easily Dimensional Barrier. If you can stop them from Xyz summoning, they have to rely almost exclusively on their hand traps to stop you from OTKing. Book of Eclipse is a really solid choice going first and second because it basically stops Rizal from Xyz summoning, which is the name of the game. And then Mischief of the Gnomes is a really interesting tech choice that's really solid against this strategy because it drops the levels of monsters so they can't Xyz summon. But what if your opponent's already established a crazy end board? When you're going second, one of the best cards to play against the strategy is Ultimate Slayer. This is like the card to use against Rizal. It's not once per turn, it puts Detonator back in the deck, and by sending your own Mereologic Aggregator too, you can negate the field spell as well. Just keep in mind, you can't activate Ultimate Slayer under Dimension Shifter, which Rizal can technically play. Kaijus are also solid, they're not perfect options, but that's kind of the point of Rizal. They can play through a ton and rebuild their board pretty easily. You really need 2 interruptions to beat them, so a Kaiju and another board breaker will usually get you there. So to recap, Rizal is the best deck in the OCG and has definitely been tier 0. Will it be tier 0 here in the TCG? Only time will tell, but it definitely is one of the better decks around. The deck is so good not because it creates an unbreakable end board, but because its combo is so low resource and so impactful and can be backed up with so many other cards as well. If you want to learn about more specific ways to beat Rizal, then make sure to smash the like button. Once we hit 200 likes, I'll bring you my ultimate guide on how to beat Rizal as well. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another video, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.